Picture this. You descend 2 miles beneath the ocean's surface, where the familiar marine life you know from documentaries transforms into something unrecognizable. The graceful creatures gliding through shallow waters become living nightmares. They stretch to impossible lengths, develop jaws that seem stolen from horror movies, or lose basic body parts entirely. Some grow mouths so enormous they can swallow prey larger than themselves, while others intentionally sacrifice their eyesight to survive in eternal darkness. Welcome to the terrifying world of deep-sea amphipods, where evolution has created monsters that challenge everything we think we know about life on Earth. The deeper these creatures venture into the abyss, the more they abandon familiar forms in favor of adaptations that seem designed by nightmares. What forces drive these animals to evolve into such alien shapes? And why do they become progressively more disturbing as we descend into the ocean's deepest zones? Before we explore these abyssal horrors, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more mind-bending deep-sea content that will change how you think about our planet's hidden worlds. To understand why deep-sea amphipods become increasingly terrifying with depth, we first need to examine their shallow water cousins. Meet the common beach hopper, a small amphipod you might find skipping across wet sand during low tide. These thumbnail-sized creatures look almost cute, with their translucent bodies and energetic hopping movements. They're perfectly adapted for life in tidal pools and shallow coastal waters, where sunlight penetrates and food is relatively abundant. Beach hoppers use their streamlined bodies to dart between rocks and seaweed, avoiding predators while scavenging for organic matter. Their clear bodies help them blend into their surroundings, and their numerous legs allow for quick, agile movements across various surfaces. These amphipods represent what we consider normal for their species: small, active, and relatively simple in structure. But this familiar form begins changing dramatically as we venture into deeper waters. In the Twilight zone, roughly 200 to 1,000 meters below the surface, amphipods start showing their first adaptations to the increasing darkness and pressure. Here, we encounter species that have grown noticeably larger and developed enhanced sensory organs to navigate their dimming environment. The Twilight Zone amphipods have evolved elongated antennae that can detect chemical traces in the water from remarkable distances. Their bodies become more robust to handle the increasing pressure, and many develop specialized appendages for grasping onto sinking organic matter that drifts down from the surface. Some species in this zone begin showing the first signs of gigantism, growing to sizes that would be impossible in shallow waters due to oxygen limitations and predation pressure. These intermediate-depth amphipods also start losing their transparency, developing darker pigmentation that helps them blend into the perpetual dusk of their habitat. Their eyes begin enlarging to capture every available photon of light, giving them an almost alien appearance compared to their surface-dwelling relatives. However, the real transformation begins when we descend into the midnight zone, where sunlight never penetrates. Here, between 1,000 and 4,000 meters deep, amphipods undergo changes so dramatic they barely resemble their shallow water ancestors. This is where we encounter our first truly nightmarish examples. The Alyshella gigantea represents one of the most extreme examples of deep-sea gigantism among amphipods. These creatures can grow to over a foot in length, making them roughly 100 times larger than typical shallow water species. Their pale, ghostly white bodies look almost prehistoric, with massive heads dominated by powerful crushing mandibles capable of processing the toughest organic matter that sinks to the ocean floor. What makes these giants particularly unsettling is their feeding behavior. Unlike their surface cousins that nibble on small particles, these deep-sea amphipods are aggressive scavengers capable of stripping flesh from large carcasses with remarkable efficiency. When a whale falls to the ocean floor, thousands of these pale giants converge on the body, creating feeding frenzies that can last for months. Their sensory systems have also undergone radical modifications. Where shallow water amphipods rely heavily on vision, these deep-sea species have developed incredibly sensitive chemical detection systems. Their antennae, often longer than their entire body, can detect the scent of decomposing organic matter from miles away. Some species have evolved specialized organs that can sense the electrical fields generated by other living creatures, turning them into living metal detectors for prey. But perhaps the most disturbing adaptation is their ability to survive without food for extended periods. Deep-sea amphipods can slow their metabolism to almost hibernation levels, allowing them to survive for months between meals. When they do encounter food, they can consume several times their body weight in a single feeding session, their bodies swelling like grotesque balloons. As we venture even deeper into the abyssal zone, amphipods become even more alien. The pressure at these depths, thousands of times greater than at sea level, has forced these creatures to abandon many features we consider essential for life. Their bodies become increasingly transparent and gelatinous, appearing more like living glass than solid creatures. The Evolutionary genus includes some of the deepest dwelling amphipods ever discovered, found at depths exceeding 6,000 meters. These creatures have evolved bodies so specialized for extreme pressure that they would literally explode if brought to the surface. Their internal organs float freely within their translucent bodies, held in place only by the crushing pressure of the deep ocean. What makes these abyssal amphipods particularly eerie is their apparent fragility combined with incredible resilience. Their tissues look delicate enough to tear at the slightest touch, yet they can withstand pressures that would instantly crush any surface-dwelling creature. They move through the water with an otherworldly grace, their translucent bodies undulating like phantoms in the eternal darkness. Their feeding strategies have also become increasingly sophisticated and disturbing. Some deep-sea amphipods have evolved specialized appendages that allow them to burrow into larger carcasses and feed from the inside out, essentially becoming parasitic scavengers. Others have developed the ability to digest materials that would be toxic to surface creatures, including decaying organic matter that has been chemically altered by the extreme deep-sea environment. The reproductive strategies of these deep-sea giants are equally unsettling. Many species exhibit extreme sexual dimorphism, where females grow to enormous sizes while males remain tiny and often permanently attach themselves to the female's body. This creates creatures that look like they're wearing living jewelry made of miniature amphipods. Some of the deepest dwelling species have abandoned traditional reproduction entirely, instead reproducing through a process called parthenogenesis, where females can produce offspring without males. This adaptation allows them to reproduce even in the vast emptiness of the deep ocean, where finding a mate might be impossible. The most extreme amphipods live in ocean trenches, the deepest parts of our planet's surface. In places like the Mariana Trench, amphipods have been found at depths exceeding 10,000 meters, making them among the deepest living animals on Earth. These trench-dwelling species represent the absolute limits of what amphipod evolution can achieve. At these crushing depths, amphipods become almost unrecognizable as animals. Their bodies consist largely of water and specialized proteins that remain stable under extreme pressure. They've lost most internal structures that exist in surface creatures, instead developing simplified organ systems that can function in conditions that seem incompatible with life. These deepest amphipods often appear more like animated water than living creatures. Their movements are slow and deliberate, conserving energy in an environment where every calorie must be carefully managed. Some species have evolved the ability to enter a state of suspended animation during food shortages, essentially becoming living fossils waiting for their next meal. The feeding strategies of trench amphipods are perhaps the most alien of all. Some species have developed the ability to digest sediment directly, extracting nutrients from the organic particles that settle on the ocean floor. Others have formed symbiotic relationships with bacteria, essentially farming their food supply within their own bodies. What's particularly fascinating about these extreme amphipods is how they challenge our understanding of life itself. They've evolved solutions to problems that seem impossible to solve, finding ways to maintain complex biological processes under conditions that would destroy most other forms of life. The pressure at these depths is so extreme that it actually changes the properties of water itself. The amphipods living here must constantly fight against forces that want to compress their bodies into nothing. Yet they've not only survived but thrived, developing into some of the most successful scavengers in the deepest parts of our oceans. Recent discoveries have revealed amphipod species that seem to defy biological logic entirely. Some have evolved bodies that can compress and expand like living accordions, allowing them to adjust to pressure changes as they move through different depths. Others have developed internal structures that work like biological pressure suits, maintaining stable internal conditions regardless of external pressure. The study of these extreme amphipods has revealed surprising insights about the limits of life on Earth and potentially other planets. Their ability to survive in such hostile conditions has implications for astrobiology, as similar creatures might exist in the subsurface oceans of moons like Europa or Enceladus. Perhaps the most unsettling aspect of deep-sea amphipods is how alien they make our own planet seem. These creatures represent a form of life so different from surface dwellers that encountering them feels like discovering extraterrestrial life. They've evolved in isolation for millions of years, developing solutions to survival that no surface creature would ever need. The transformation of amphipods from familiar beach hoppers to deep-sea monsters illustrates one of evolution's most powerful forces: environmental pressure. As these creatures descended deeper into the ocean, each new challenge forced them to abandon familiar forms in favor of increasingly alien adaptations. The pressure that drives these transformations isn't just physical. Food scarcity in the deep ocean has forced amphipods to become incredibly efficient scavengers, capable of surviving on the smallest amounts of organic matter. The eternal darkness has eliminated the need for many sensory organs while enhancing others beyond recognition. Temperature also plays a crucial role in their transformation. The near-freezing temperatures of the deep ocean slow all biological processes, allowing these creatures to live much longer than their surface relatives, but also forcing them to evolve incredibly slow metabolisms. Some deep-sea amphipods may live for decades or even centuries, slowly growing to their enormous sizes over extended periods. The isolation of the deep ocean has allowed amphipods to evolve along completely different paths than surface species. Without predators or competition from other creature types, they've been free to develop the extreme specializations that make them so successful in their hostile environment. Understanding these creatures requires us to completely reimagine what life can be. They've evolved sensory systems that detect things surface creatures can't even perceive, digestive systems that can process materials we'd consider inedible, and reproductive strategies that seem more like science fiction than biology. The study of deep-sea amphipods also reveals the incredible age of these ecosystems. Many of these species have remained virtually unchanged for millions of years, making them living fossils that provide insights into ancient evolutionary processes. Their stability in such extreme environments shows how successful these alien adaptations have become. What makes these discoveries particularly exciting is that we've likely only scratched the surface of deep-sea amphipod diversity. Each new exploration of the deep ocean reveals species that push the boundaries of what we thought was possible for life. Some recent discoveries include amphipods that appear to be made entirely of transparent gel, others that seem to glow with their own internal light, and species with body structures so unusual that scientists struggle to classify them. The technology required to study these creatures presents its own challenges. The extreme depth and pressure of their habitat means that most specimens die during collection, leaving scientists to piece together their biology from damaged remains and brief glimpses captured by deep-sea cameras. This limitation means that much of what we know about deep-sea amphipods comes from observing their behavior in their natural habitat, rather than studying them in laboratories. Recent advances in deep-sea exploration have revealed amphipod communities that seem to operate under completely different biological rules than surface ecosystems. Some deep-sea regions contain amphipod species that have never been exposed to sunlight, even indirectly through the food chain. These creatures exist in ecosystems powered entirely by chemical energy from underwater vents and seeps. The implications of these discoveries extend far beyond marine biology. Deep-sea amphipods represent some of the most extreme examples of evolutionary adaptation on our planet, showing how life can persist and thrive under conditions that seem utterly hostile. Their existence suggests that life might be possible in environments we never previously considered habitable. As we continue exploring the deepest parts of our oceans, amphipods serve as guides to understanding the absolute limits of life on Earth. Each new species discovered adds another piece to the puzzle of how biological systems can adapt to extreme conditions. These creatures represent millions of years of evolutionary experimentation, resulting in life forms that seem more alien than anything science fiction has imagined. The journey from surface-dwelling beach hoppers to abyssal giants reveals evolution's incredible power to reshape life in response to environmental challenges. What started as small, familiar crustaceans has become a group of creatures that challenge our basic understanding of what animals can be. The next time you see a small amphipod hopping across a beach, remember that its deep-sea relatives represent some of the most extreme and successful examples of evolutionary adaptation on our planet. They've conquered the most hostile environment on Earth, transforming from recognizable creatures into living proof that life finds ways to survive and thrive in places that seem impossible for anything to exist. These deep-sea amphipods remind us that our planet still holds countless mysteries in its darkest depths. As we develop better technology for deep-sea exploration, we'll undoubtedly discover even more extreme examples of how life can adapt to survive in conditions that push the very boundaries of what we consider possible. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the abyss to explore these incredible creatures. If you found this exploration of deep-sea amphipods fascinating, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more content about the hidden wonders of our planet. Leave a comment below, sharing which of these deep-sea adaptations amazed you most. And don't forget to check out our other videos exploring the bizarre creatures that call the ocean's deepest places